And welcome back, everyone, to the FX Open Invitational Series. I am Unstable, joined here by Railcoon for this next set. It is going to be cRFenner up against Slayer's Crank. Now, I do not know if Crank officially left the team or not yet, because there's stuff going on, but we're going to jump into the game anyway, and we'll adjust that if any more solid information happens. Alrighty, so we have Slayer's Crank up here at the top right-hand corner as our pink Protoss. And down here at the bottom left, we have cRFenner, Carnage Esports, of course, that would be the tag. He's playing under from the Southeast Asia region. Was able to go through the Southeast Asia qualifier to make it into this one, taking out, I believe, T-Gun on his way through. Of course, T-Gun did get a final invite after that because of his win at a very high-profile Southeast Asia land. Anyway, but let's get into it. We have a ZVP here on Daybreak, the good old staple, this one pretty much. ZVP on Daybreak is probably one of the more favored matchups for both of them, actually. But let's see how Fenner goes.
I'm going to be the co-caster here and ask the question that needs to be asked. Because I tried to look up Fenner, got nothing. Not even on TLPD. So is he a known player in Southeast Asia who just doesn't play outside of it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or is he just an unknown guy who made it through the qualifier?
No, he's definitely known in the Southeast Asia scene. Very strong player in his own right. So it's definitely not a surprise to me that he made it through those brackets. And let's see how he goes up against Crank. Crank's PvZ is very strong. However, the difference between a lot of these games we're going to see now, as I was discussing it with Lirlian the other day as well, that there's no pressure and not as much prepare time compared to GSL, GSTL. So you often see a lot of the unknown players play much better than they would ever in like a high-profile match. So I think there is a good chance that Fenner could pull through here. We do have Crank, of course, here scouting out this hatch. And, of course, the pull first just to be safe against the pylon blocks and all that frustrating stuff that comes out here. However, we had a Nexus first for Crank during all of this. Fenner does get in, sees the timings of both of these buildings. Straight into the main with his Overlords. We'll have a scout for a little bit later on. Now, given the fact that it's a Nexus first, it's likely we will see a third hatchery coming out. That seems to be the standard for Zerg players these days.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how well Fenner knows the whole like Korean metagame type thing. The people who are the best at upsetting Koreans are the ones who realize that generally the really, really good Koreans tend to lose to unknowns most often when they do something really unpredictable. Because the Koreans like to cut corners. That's just the way they play. So they try to predict you. They try to like figure out what you're going to do next and then figure out what risks they can take. So when some of these good players from another scene who the Koreans have never encountered before start playing them, the most often they start winning is when they do something that to the Korean doesn't make any sense. So I'm really curious to see if Fenner is aware of that, because you see that happen sometimes where if the player is aware of that, they can start taking off a lot of games. Because the Korean's like, why would you attack there? That makes no sense. I was teching, but you shouldn't have attacked. But he did actually go for the third hatch, and he's doing a pretty good job of scouting around with this Overlord. Hasn't gone down yet. And he knows the timings pretty well. Cybernetics core isn't down yet, so he's still just flying around with this Overlord. Looks like he might be giving it up, though, because it's flying back into the main, deciding to suicide this Overlord just for one more trip for some more information.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, we do have double gas in the main here for Fenner, and not something you see quite often. Is usually you see a little bit more heavily drones coming out. We do have link speed on the way, of course, just to play safe, try and control that middle of the map. And what is Crank's follow-up going to be? That's going to be the question here.
Yeah, he's actually not making a stalker at all, which should be a tell for Fenner in a second, even though he's not going to see the starport immediately. It's the fact that there's no ranged unit poking at his Overlord. It's because that Crank went for a really quick Stargate before even making that stalker. So he's getting that out pretty much as fast as possible. And based on everything else we're seeing, he actually delayed his warp gate there as well. So he delayed the stalker and warp gate just to get the Stargate out at this really, really fast. But Fenner is doing one of those crazy unpredictable things and going for a really fast Baneling nest after getting a third hatchery.
Well, this is actually becoming a lot more standard, the 3 hatch into Baneling bust, which me and Lurlian were discussing it earlier. And Fenner is not going to see this Stargate, however, he's pretty much chosen the perfect build to go up against this because there is going to be no real army here. There's no sentry at all. It's not even being made. There we go. It's being made now, but he's only going to have one of them. A Void Ray is coming out here as well, so he's going to have a very difficult time killing all these Lings and Zerglings. And Link Speed is about to finish up, and I honestly...
Oh, no, he just dropped a robotics as well. So
good night.
This is really, really bad for Frank.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be good night here for him here. Looking here, Fenner's likely gonna, he hasn't even seen this at all either. Oh, there we go. He does see the Void Ray going to be like, excellent. My build is now going to be even more effective. He's probably going to go straight. He can either go straight for this Zealot in the ranks, but he's making so many banglings, he might actually go straight, straight through the Forge here by the looks of it for Fenner as he's coming in. There is so many banglings, he's actually going to take out the Cyberclaw as well, and that just means only Zealots left here for Crank, but there's banglings. Oh, good night, probes, and that is pretty much going to be it. There is nothing he can do about it. The force field's already been wasted. Link's coming up into the main, and he sees the robotics as well. The worst possible thing, units to make here for Crank, and that is going to be it. GG. Fenner will take down game number 1 here in the second set here for Group F. Let's see if he can bring it home in game number 2, shall we?